today is January 8th, 2021, and as you can see, this is our 61st day of instruction. And today we're going to be focusing on how to write a summary. So as we begin, you can see the homework assignments down here. Today we are going to be continuing in our notebook, and today we're going to be using that outline from the informational article that we read about Hurricane Katrina. And that's the article we're going to use to learn how we're going to write our summary. So today we're going to be doing that in our notebook on page 30. And then this whole week we've been learning about main idea, supporting details, transitional sentences. And so you guys are going to be taking a short quiz about identifying main idea. So there is a main idea quiz that I'll show you at the end of the video. Things that you're going to need for the lesson today, like always, you're going to need your glue stick and your scissors. Today we're going to use a variety of writing tools. Now, if you have just a pencil, that's fine, but if you have these colors, that's great. We are going to use the orange and blue highlighter. We're going to use those today. And then I'm also going to use, you can use colored pencils. I used colored pens. I used an orange, a blue, and a green. So if you have these in pens, that's awesome. If you have it in crayons, I would say don't use crayons because we're going to use them for writing. But colored pencils would be fine as long as you keep them nice and sharp. So once you have those materials, the last thing you'll need is in your ELA notebook, or your ELA folder. You're going to grab your folder, open up that folder, and here we have the main idea, multiple choice. This is actually the quiz you're going to take today. This is a paper version of it. So I'm going to take the paper clip off, and I'm going to set this aside, all right? Because today is the day you're actually going to be doing the digital version of this quiz, so you're going to do it on the computer. But here's a paper copy of it, so you can have it. Some people like to read on paper better, and they can just comprehend better that way. This is the sheet that we're going to use. So I am going to take out this one here. It says how to write a summary on top. And then I'm going to take the rest of my packet, paper clip it back together. Now my packet looks like this. You guys can actually see here, this is an article that we're going to be reading as you guys practice writing your own summaries, identifying main idea, supporting details, using a real article here about Donald Duck and Peanuts and how they saved trick-or-treating. For now, I'm going to put this packet back in my folder and set my folder aside. Okay, and so now the very first thing that I need to do is we're going to cut out just this section here that looks like a spiral notebook. It's the only part of this graphic organizer that we need. So I will cut it out and I will show you what you need. Okay, and this is it. This is all you're going to need on that. I can take the rest of my scraps and I can throw them away. All right, and now we're ready to set up our notebook. So I'm going to turn over to my document camera. And here you can see yesterday, page 29, which is what we worked on. And this is actually the outline that we did in preparation for writing a summary. When you look at how to write a summary, you see that there's only two very short steps. And so writing a summary is a deceptively simple thing to do, but it's also very complex. If you just try to do these two steps, it would be very, very difficult. And many students do find writing summaries difficult. And the reason is that they go from trying to just read an article and then writing the summary. Read the article and write the summary. Instead of taking the time like we did to really think about the article, think about what the topic sentence is, think about the different categories of information that are in here. Once we've really critically thought about it, and that's what we have been doing, we've been critically breaking down this article and analyzing every single part of it and color coding all of them. this writing a summary now becomes very easy because we've done all of the work we need to do in preparation. So today we are going to be using this in order to write our summary. So at this time, what I would have you do is turn to the very next page in your notebook, and you would begin by putting down the date. Today is the 8th of January. You would include your page number. This is page 30 in our notebook. And today we're learning how to write a summary. Now in class, we read these steps aloud and we did each part together. So the first part for how to write a summary, you're going to glue this in. If you've not already glued it in, make sure you glue this in. And then we're actually going to be writing our summary right below this. So how to write a summary. It has 2 steps and we're going to be adding a third one. So there are 3 steps. The first step says to state the main idea when we have to go to write a summary. Okay? And I want you to highlight main idea. That's in blue. We've been using blue for main idea all along. Now, first thing we have to do is state the main idea. Well, yesterday, we spent time analyzing what the main idea was. And if we look at our graphic organizer, we see the main idea right over here on the left-hand edge. And when I turn my notebook so I can read it, we see that the main idea of the Hurricane Katrina article was that Hurricane Katrina was the costliest and deadliest storm in recent U.S. history. That was the main idea. We've already figured it out. So when it comes to writing our summary, this is going to become sentence number 1. And you can see I put a number 1 right next to the sentence. Okay? This becomes the first sentence in your summary. Whenever you're writing a summary, you always want to begin with the main idea. Now, the second step asks us to write 1 sentence for each of the transitional sentences or idea categories. This basically is your supporting details, the stuff that we wrote in orange, that include only the most important details for that section. Now, again, we know that this article has 3 sections. It has a physical description of the storm. It has a section which talks about how costly it is. And it has a section for how deadly the storm was. So all we have to do now is go back and isolate each section. This section has 3 supporting details. And what we would do is we would read through these supporting details and we would select which one we think is the most important. And in this first section, we have a detail about where Katrina was formed. And then we have a detail about Katrina going into the Gulf of Mexico and strengthening to a Category 5 hurricane. And here we have a detail about how it made landfall in Louisiana as a Category 3 hurricane. And so what I would ask you to do is decide which one of these supporting details is the most important in trying to understand this article. And here's where we need to make reference to the main idea. The main idea said that it was costly and it was deadly. So I would ask myself, okay, was it costly and deadly as it was forming over the Bahamas? Well, no, that's not what the article was about. Was it deadly and was it costly out in the Gulf of Mexico when it was a Category 5 hurricane? No, it wasn't. Out in the Gulf of Mexico, it was over water. It wasn't costly nor deadly. And so here, it made landfall in Louisiana in 2005 as a Category 3 hurricane. This is when it did its most costly and deadly damage. So when it comes to this first category, the best supporting detail to include in a summary would be this last detail. And that's why I've numbered it 2, because this becomes the second sentence in my summary. Now, normally, I would tell you that there is no right or wrong answer. You're trying to pick the detail that most supports the topic sentence. And in this case, this one clearly stands out as being the one that is going to support the topic sentence. Now, when it comes to the next category, costly, I would make the argument that either one of these details really helps us understand the main idea. When you look at the first detail, it says most of the damage in New Orleans was caused by the storm surge breaking levees and flooding the city. So it's explaining to us exactly where and why the storm was costly. This would be a fine detail to include in a summary. The next one says the U.S. government estimated the total cost of the damage to be around $108 billion. Again, this one gives us exactly how much it cost. It gives us a dollar amount, $108 billion. So this would also work well in a summary about this article. So here I would tell you, pick the one that you personally think helps the most. I picked this one about the total cost being $108 billion. But if you were to choose this sentence, you would not be wrong. You'd be making a fine choice as well. The last category, and we have to pick one more sentence because now we have one detail from physical description, we have one detail from the costly section, and now we're looking at this last section about the storm being deadly. And again, this is a place where you would read each one of these details and you would pick the one that you think personally is the best to help you support the main idea that this was one of the deadliest storms in U.S. history. Now, I picked the first one. Katrina killed a total of 1,836 people. I think that this one comes straightforward. It tells you how many people and all it killed. But you'll see I did a little teacher trick when I wrote my summary because there's other good information in here. You could pick this one, which is a very good detail. It tells you that 1,577 deaths occurred in Mississippi or in Louisiana and 238 in Mississippi. And that's the majority of the deaths. So again, this detail, I don't think it's the best one, but if you included it and you liked it the best, I would say that you are perfectly within your rights to go ahead and do that. That sentence would work in a summary. And then the last one also would work. It says about 1,000 deaths were caused by people ignoring evacuation warnings. So it kind of tells us why this was so deadly, because people ignored evacuation warnings. So you would pick one of these sentences. When you're done with this page, what you get is you get 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences. We've numbered the sentences that we're going to use in our summary. Our summary is going to have 4 sentences. We've already picked them out. So all we have to do is rewrite them. But there's one last thing we need to consider when we write a summary. The last step, and this is a step that I'm having you guys add to your graphic organizer. The last step, step 3, says, and you'd have to write this down. I wrote it in green. Include transitional words or phrases. Even in summaries, when you can, you want to include a transitional word and phrase. In our article, those transitional words and phrases really helped us see these category breakdowns in between it being a physical description and being costly and being deadly. And again, transitional sentences. We learned move the reader from one topic to another. So even in my summary that I'm going to share with you, I've used 2 transitional words and phrases to help me flow from it being a description of the storm to how costly it was to how deadly it was. And I just used words or phrases. Okay, and that's what you want to do. Include transitional words and phrases. Now in your notebook, we have a tool that will help us do this. If you look at your notes that we took on page 11, back on November 6th, this is why I asked you guys to write the date, the page number, we have a using transitions page in our notebook. And here we have a great tool. Okay, so when I want to add information or add an example or add a result, which is one of the ones I used as a result to show the effects, okay, right here. The storm hit as a level 3 and as a result. Okay, and then I went on to, again, use my tool to add ideas and examples, and I picked additionally. So I used as a result, and I used additionally from my notes that we took on page 11 in our notebook to do step 3, add my transitional words and phrases. So now when I'm done, your summary should be, every summary is going to be very similar, but they're going to be slightly different because you remember we wrote each one of these details in our own words, and then each of us picked which details we wanted to include in our summary. Now we both should have the same first 2 details. Our topic sentence should be just about the same, and then that first detail about where it makes landfall should be similar. And then after that, your third and your fourth sentences, that's where our summaries are going to really vary. But here's my summary for our Hurricane Katrina article, which includes the main idea and 3 supporting details. Hurricane Katrina was the costliest and deadliest natural disaster in recent U.S. history. It made landfall in Louisiana in August of 2005 as a Category 3 hurricane. As a result, the total cost of damage from Texas to Florida was $108 billion. Additionally, Hurricane Katrina caused the deaths of 1,836 people, most of whom lived in Louisiana. And you can see I added a little extra detail on there at the end. That's just a little teacher trick, a way for me to squeeze in an extra detail. You wouldn't need to do that. You would need to make sure you just have your great topic sentence or your main idea, and then your 3 supporting details, and challenge yourself to try to use those transitional words. When you're done, make sure that you guys are taking good pictures of your work. Even if you have to take 2 pictures, where you take a picture of the top so I can see that your notes are done, and then a picture of the bottom, and I can see that your summary is done. You can color code your summary like I did, which is why I have my blue and orange and green pens to show me that you know exactly which parts they are. But if you don't have those items, again, you could use colored pencil or just a regular pencil, okay? I color code mine so you can very easily see each part of my summary, okay? So when you're done, you want to be able to, even if, again, you have to zoom in real big, I'd like to be able to see your summary. So take the time to write neatly. When you're done with that, the last thing that you need to do for me today, all right, is all week you've been hearing me talk about supporting details, topic sentence, main idea. There is, under the Classworks tab, okay, you would come over here, you'd go to our Classwork tab under our Google Classroom, and you scroll down. You can see right here is where you're going to upload your notebook. All right, page 30, how to write a summary. But then right above it, you have your quiz on main idea. And please don't worry about the due date. I know that the due date and time are goofed up. Don't worry about handing in things late. I've been giving everybody full credit for anything that they're handing in while we're virtual. If you get it in, I've been giving you credit, okay? So don't worry about that. I accidentally made it due for today at 9 a.m., so that was my mistake. But you're going to click on your main idea quiz, and you can read the directions. The main idea of a text tells what the text is mostly about. Supporting details are the sentences that support the main idea. Read the paragraphs below and then choose the best main idea from the multiple choice options. So this is a multiple choice quiz. The directions are right here again for you. But essentially what you will do is, here's question 1. You will read the short passage. These are very short. And then there is 4 choices for you to pick what you think is the main idea. So read it carefully, go back, reread when necessary. Really, see if you can't take the time. Fine, every one of these, even though it's very short, has a topic sentence and it has supporting details. Okay, so look to see, what is the topic sentence? What is this short passage mostly about? And you can pick your choice. There are 5 questions in all. Here's question 2. Again, these are all multiple choice. Here's question 3. Here's question 4. Here's a question actually about hurricanes. And here are questions 5. All right, read each one. Pick the one that you think is the best main idea for each, and then make sure that you hit submit at the bottom. You guys have a great weekend. It was fun to work with you this week from home. Next week, we're going to be taking the skills that we learned about this week, and you guys are going to be diving into that Halloween article, and we're going to be having you guys find the main idea, topic, sentence, details, and you guys are going to be eventually completing your own graphic organizer, and you guys are going to be writing a summary for me next week. So have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys on Monday. Bye.